People are fed up with big government, fed up with politicians in both parties who think the government can right any wrong, regulate any behavior, and tax any event. Look at the mess big government has brought us. We are mired in a war in Afghanistan that is eerily reminiscent of the American disaster in Vietnam. Since the economic collapse of 2008, the federal government has borrowed and spent $2 trillion. The government says that only 15 million adults are out of work, but the number is more likely to be over 30 million. And whatever that number is, it is nearly the same as were out of work before the $2 trillion was spent. Our national debt is rapidly approaching $14 trillion. That's the money that the government has borrowed and not yet repaid. And there is no end in sight and no plan as to how to pay it back. The Speaker of the House of Representatives said we need to give out more food stamps and more welfare because they're a good deal for the people who get them. And the President has been campaigning for Democrats all over the country. And his argument has been this: things could have been worse. Is it any wonder that many of the Democrats for whom he has been campaigning don't even want to be seen with him? What's wrong with the government today? Does the government tell the truth? No. Does the government break its own laws? Yes. Does the government write laws to keep itself in power? Of course it does. What we are witnessing today in America is the slow disintegration of the pillars of freedom. Can anyone seriously claim that Congress follows the Constitution? Can anyone seriously claim that the feds can cure a problem caused by too much borrowing and spending with more borrowing and spending? Is there any among us who thinks that the government would not hesitate for a moment to take our lives, our liberty, and our property without due process if it hated or feared us? We are halfway to socialism, and if we don't turn around this November, it will soon be upon us. We all know how horrible socialism is. The government owns the property, tells you what part is yours, puts you to work for it, and decides what you earn. And this is no joke and no exaggeration. Already, 47%, nearly half of Americans, receive their money from the government. Let me take that back. They receive their money from the remaining 53% of the taxpayers because the government takes that money from them and gives it away. And soon the government will tell them, those who receive it, how to spend it. Would you let a crook take your money and give it away? Would you let your neighbors take your money and give it away? Why do we let the government take our money and give it away? And think about this. After socialist governments take your money, they take your freedom. And no socialist government in history has ever respected the rights of its opponents. Just last week, a mere 15 minutes from where I am now sitting, a federal judge told the federal government it could not introduce evidence in a criminal trial that had been obtained under torture. Such an issue was unthinkable in an American courtroom 10 years ago. The people who have brought us this misery must be removed from office. However you vote in November, send those people home. From New York, defending freedom. Good night, America.